Hey guys, it's review time here on the Film Scene Investigation channel with me, Bo. Hope everyone out there is doing well. Thank you so much for checking out this video. In today's review, I'm going to be taking a closer look at the 1992 drama Poison Ivy. This is a good movie, and I'm looking forward to talking about it here today. Just before we get into that, if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel. All the support is greatly appreciated. So, Poison Ivy from 1992 was a drama that was directed by the filmmaker Kat Shea and starred Drew Barrymore in the lead role. The movie's script went through several changes before pre-production, and it had multiple endings as well. It was clear from the research that I've done that the studio behind it, New Line Cinema, were very hands-on and keeping a close eye on this project in particular. So yeah, up until recently, I'd never even heard of this film before, and it was only by chance that I actually came across the trailer online. From what I saw, I was intrigued with the story, but more specifically, seeing Drew Barrymore in this provocative femme fatale type of role, that really interested me. It was definitely a departure from, the other performances I'd seen her do in the past. When it comes to the narrative, we saw Drew Barrymore's character, Ivy, become friends with Sylvie Cooper, the school's basket case, who was played by actress Sarah Gilbert. Sylvie was the shy, awkward kid in class, the complete opposite to Ivy, who was really outgoing and confident. It was very clear from the start that both Sylvie and Ivy, they wanted friendship, they wanted companionship, and since neither one of them had any friends, they were naturally drawn to each other. The two really hit it off, and they became instant friends, and within weeks, Ivy ended up staying with Sylvie in her parents' extravagant home. She soon became part of the family, and actually grew a close bond with Sylvie's mother, Georgie, who was played by actress Cheryl Ladd. Georgie was a sick woman who was battling some sort of lung disease. She was down and out. There was no cure, and she was dying. However, Ivy's sudden presence did soften her pain. I guess, like her daughter Sylvie, Georgie was in need of some companionship, some emotional support, and she got it with Ivy. But Ivy's apparent kindness and understanding, it was all for show. It wasn't real, and the true manipulative nature of Ivy soon surfaced. Ivy started flirting with Sylvie's dad, a guy called Daryl, who was played by actor Tom Skerritt, a man that was twice her age. It was all so innocent at first, but what began as harmless fun soon turned into this secret love affair. Wow. Daryl Cooper, eh? What a guy. It's like, your wife, your sick wife, is dying in the next room, but hey, don't worry about that. Go and eye up, or a teenager that's the same age as your daughter. True scumbag. I understand that the character was under some immense pressure, but I still don't think that is any justification to cheat on your dying wife. While Ivy was actively pursuing Daryl, in fairness to him, he was hesitant at first. I think deep down, he knew, what he was doing was wrong. I guess he just couldn't resist temptation. While I'm talking about these two and their relationship, I need to mention the after party sequence where we saw Daryl and Ivy get intimate with each other on Georgie's bed while she slept. This was a dying woman, a very sick woman, and there her husband was, getting it on with a younger woman. Wow. I mean, you either laugh or cry, so I'm going to laugh about it. But yeah, I mean, could the Daryl character stoop any lower? Seeing all of that play out, you have to ask yourself, what did Georgie ever do to deserve that kind of treatment? I mean, come on, her days were numbered. She was a sick woman. And, Daryl knew this, yet he just carried on behind her back. I did feel really bad for the character, but I am glad that Georgie actually never found out about the sordid affair. I mean, she had enough on her plate, and her finding out about her husband being disloyal to her, especially when she was in that state, I mean, it would have benefited no one. So, I don't know, I guess that's some sort of silver lining. And to make matters worse, even though Georgie was dying of this lung disease, for Ivy, that wasn't fast enough. In her eyes, Georgie was becoming a nuisance and she needed to go. Ivy had Daryl eating out the palm of her hand. I mean, she had really manipulated this guy and he was infatuated with her. So once he was out of the way, suddenly Georgie was on Ivy's hit list. This all led to a scene where we saw Ivy push Georgie off her balcony in this sudden moment of madness. Georgie was there 1 minute and then she was dead as Ivy looked on from above, and we kind of finally saw Ivy's murderous side come out in full effect. She had intentionally killed someone and she had no remorse over it. She didn't care. I mean, this was all part of Ivy's plan. And to be honest, I could kind of see it coming. I mean, from what I saw leading up to Georgie's death, there was no way that I thought that she was gonna make it out alive. So I noticed that sexuality was one of the central themes in this movie, with Ivy manipulating Daryl and taking over his household. Now, I'm not defending Daryl here. What he did was disgusting, but clearly this guy wasn't thinking straight. He's dealing with his sick wife, he wasn't getting on with his daughter, and Ivy saw this. She saw it and she pounced, and she literally manipulated a weakened Daryl for her own gains. She began seducing him and basically weaponized her body in order to take control. I have to say, I was a little confused as to what the filmmakers were attempting here with the messaging, because you can kind of look at Ivy's story in two ways. Some could argue that Ivy's journey was kind of this form of female empowerment, taking control and being independent, and basically saying F you to the patriarchy, the same patriarchy that Daryl represented. On the other hand, the filmmakers decided to sensationalize Ivy's sexual conquests, which kind of cheapened her ascension to power. So yeah, I was just a little bit unsure with those creative choices and the actual message the filmmakers were, trying to convey. Let's talk about Drew Barrymore here for a moment. I have to say, she stole the show and she was absolutely the best part of this movie. Am I a fan of Drew Barrymore? Not really. I've always appreciated her performance in the Wes Craven movie Scream at the very beginning. But yeah, I can't say I'm a big fan or anything like that. But seeing Barrymore here in Poison Ivy, she really impressed me. And to be honest, I didn't think she was capable of delivering such a disturbing performance. The Ivy character was truly evil, and we saw that in how Ivy was able to dismantle the Cooper family. But, in fairness to the filmmakers, they didn't actually hang about in showing the true evilness of Ivy, as at the beginning of the film, we saw her kill a dog in a so-called mercy killing. There was a dog at the side of the road. I think it had been hit by a car. Anyways, Sylvie, went over there to comfort the dog, but out of nowhere, this lead pipe came crashing down and, killed the dog. Ivy was responsible, yet she didn't seem like fazed by it at all. But what I found interesting about Ivy was that she was a complex character who refused to follow the social norms. She had her own mind, she had her own voice, and because of that, she actually felt more like a real character, not some teenage rebel caricature. She also had a troubled upbringing, losing her mum at a very young age, and clearly that would, traumatize anyone. But Ivy's past was only touched upon. And because there was still a lot of mystery that surrounded Ivy and her background, I kind of got the impression that the things that Ivy was saying may have not even have been true. I mean, let's face it, the Ivy character was vindictive. She was a cold-hearted killer who continuously lied throughout the movie. So, can we believe anything that she said? Anyways, Barrymore delivered the goods. She was amazing. And this was, a significant moment in her career where she was able to shed the child star persona for a more serious image. So, yeah, great work. Actress Sarah Gilbert did a fairly decent job with her role playing Sylvie. It was an understated performance, and, I only know her from the Roseanne sitcom. I don't think I've ever seen her, in any other projects or any other films. So, yeah, to see her here in Poison Ivy definitely was refreshing. It was very similar to her role on Roseanne. So, yeah, in some ways it was perfect casting for someone to play the basket case role. I guess it could be argued that Poison Ivy was, in a way, a coming-of-age film for the Sylvie character. She had many insecurities and had to suppress them for many years until Ivy came along. While I don't consider this a coming-of-age movie, it's safe to say that Sylvie's journey was the emotional anchor that added a lot of depth to the overall story. She was an important part, but as I say that, don't get me wrong, this was still very much a Drew Barrymore movie. Poison Ivy was a well-made production. The cinematographer, Phaedon Papamahale, delivered some beautiful shots that really was a contrast to the ugly nature of the story. I really liked some of the nighttime shots. There was a lot of blue, shadowy lighting, and it really, created this sinister tone. The cinematographer has gone on to have a very acclaimed career in Hollywood, recently working on the Indiana Jones movie. While that was a very bad movie, it looked great, and clearly Phaedon Papamahale knows his stuff. And so, dislikes for Poison Ivy from 1992. My biggest dislike for the film, and it's not a huge one, but something that really stuck out to me, was the scene where we saw Sylvie go off by herself into the woods and contemplate her thoughts. It was just this sequence that went on for too long, about 2.5 minutes. And, with the use of music as well, it felt like a music video that you'd see on MTV. Don't get me wrong, this movie had a very good pace, but this one particular scene really just slowed things down and, easily could have been removed from the final cut. You had Sylvie all sad and glum, and because there was so much time given to it, I was expecting something to happen, but nothing did. It was just a nothing scene. It added nothing to the overall narrative. And I just don't know why the filmmakers decided to, waste some time. Maybe it was some sort of way to pad out the film's runtime. I don't know. But, that sequence easily could have been trimmed down to, 30 seconds or, maybe a minute at best. And that's it. That's all you needed. So, yeah. I don't know. And so, ratings for Poison Ivy from 1992. I'm going to be rating this movie a strong 7 out of 10. Poison Ivy is a very good 90s movie, a great psychological thriller with a young Drew Barrymore playing this evil femme fatale. The film explored the fragility of family bonds and, made me appreciate my own. Nobody deserves to have a dad like Daryl Cooper. I've made it very clear in this review how much I dislike the Daryl character, but in all fairness, that just comes down to the great character work from actor Tom Skerritt. He had the right look, the right tone, the right vibe to play this alcoholic television executive. So yeah, he was great stuff. This movie often gets compared to the 1993 film The Crush that starred Alicia Silverstone. And I think that's down to the fact that both central characters were these unhinged teenagers. Now, I don't know if it's a fair comparison, but if I was weighing up the two, even though I really enjoyed The Crush, I preferred Poison Ivy. There was just more going on, keeping the audience on its toes. And I certainly look forward to going back and rewatching Poison Ivy in the future. If you've seen this movie, please let me know your thoughts and memories in the comments section below. For all those who haven't, absolutely, please do. It's a big recommendation from me. And well, that's all from me today, guys. Do hope you've enjoyed this review of Poison Ivy from 1992. I'll be back next week, of course, with another cult movie review. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, take care.